Deliver him! One-handed catch! Oh, he's got it!
Welcome to the cockpit. My name's Ryan, and I'll be your pilot today. Boys and girls, we're talking a little Mike Evans going back to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on a restructured contract or a re-signed contract. We'll get into it, talk about the figures, and I want to give you guys my top 5 remaining wide receivers that I think the New York Jets should be considering. I want to see what your list is going to be. I'll throw a poll in the live chat once I give you my list so you guys can kind of pick your brains a little bit. I'll go through comment questions, see what you guys are talking about. Fear is Grim. What's up? Good to have you in the chat. Andrew, I just saw your email. You are qualified for the jersey giveaway that we're going to be doing tomorrow, so thank you so much for signing up for Aura. Very much appreciated. Got Mutt Viles in the chat. What's good, dude? Fear is Grim already jumping the shark, right? Is that what they call it? Looks like the Jets were never even interested in Mike Evans. Bucs raise bolts. Surprise, Evans is back. Dakota says impending decisions. Kyle, talk about Ridley and Sutton. Michael, what's up from across the pond over in Germany? Nice to have you in here. All right. So and Andrew says, my pillow is going to be delivered today too. Oh, that's awesome. I'm glad. Andrew won our pillow and it took way too long. They lost the shipment, so I had to resend it. I got myself a pillow. It'll be coming in probably beginning of next week, end of this week. I'm looking forward to it. All right, let's hop into the story for Mike Evans. This coming by way, I guess I'll pull Rossini's tweet off. First and foremost, Adam Schefter says, before free agency begins next week, Buccaneers and 5-time Pro Bowler Mike Evans reach an agreement on a 2-year, $52 million deal that includes $35 million guaranteed per his agent. Evans now has a real chance to start and finish his career in Tampa Bay as a Buccaneer. Now, this was always going to be the most likely outcome that could happen. I showed you guys this video just the other day.
I would love to be back. You know, I love Tampa Bay. Been here my whole career. The city has been great to me. The franchise has been unbelievable to me and my family, and you know, I love this place. So we'll see.
God, do you cringe at all, or allow yourself to even think of Mike Evans playing in another team's jersey?
I don't even think about it. I don't like to be asked about it. I don't want to know about it, and I hope the hell that does not happen.
So clearly, he always wanted to go back to Tampa Bay, and Tampa Bay always wanted to bring him back in. We discussed Tampa Bay as a very likely landing spot for him to go just, what was it, yesterday? 2 days ago? When did I do that live stream? My days are all blending together now. But at 2 years, $52 million, that is definitely less than I thought he was going to get going back to the Buccaneers. Now, the $26 million a year, very, very similar to what Cooper Kupp got. Cooper Kupp got 3 years, $80 million, which works out to, I believe it's $26.5 million a year. So he obviously got the extra year, the extra $500,000 on top of it. I think Evans left a lot of money on the table. I think he would have gotten over $30+ million a year. And look, I'm disappointed because this is the free agent. If I had to pick one to really throw a lot of money at, like the offensive linemen are interesting to me in free agency, but none of them have the degree of impact that a Mike Evans would have had. So we have to wind up going another direction, looking for a different wide receiver. But I want to throw a little shot at Miss Diana Rossini saying, this was from just 3 days ago, sorry, days are screwed up. Mike Evans plans to hit free agency for the first time in his career, per sources. Tampa Bay and Evans are in discussions, but he wants to explore his options. This doesn't mean Evans doesn't go back to the Bucs, or time with the Bucs is over, but he plans to hearing all teams before making a decision. Well, this is the same person that had 30 sources inside our New York Jets claiming all these different stories and everything, and her sources right here telling her he's definitely hitting free agency to at least talk to everyone that's going to be available and see what numbers and figures are going to be looking like, and he's not taking a hometown discount and all this other stuff. Yeah, sorry, kick rocks, you're wrong. And then she also says the Jets weren't even interested in Mike Evans. I didn't have that tweet pulled up, but yeah, she says Jets sources shared they are not interested. That was the whole conversation. So I don't know. Look, I don't think that it's I don't pay too much attention to Miss Diana Rossini these days, but we'll talk about stuff as it pops up, I guess. All right, Let's talk top 5 list. Number 5 on my list is going to be DJ Chark. Not a very exciting wide receiver, I'll be honest. But once you eliminate the top upper echelon of wide receivers, there's a lot of guys in the middle. They're going to get overpaid. They're going to get a lot of money. And I don't particularly want to spend a lot of money for a middling upgrade. Mike Evans to me, T. Higgins to me, Michael Pittman to me would have been that level of wide receiver that would just jettison you over the top, and that would be okay to pay for. I'm fine doing that type of all-in push for the next 2 years, but I'm not looking to go crazy on contract. DJ Chark last year signed a 1-year, $5 million deal with the Carolina Panthers. His wide receiver coach, now with the New York Jets, maybe there's a situation he wants to follow him over here. The whole Carolina offense was absolutely terrible last year. So I don't know if that's a product of the weapons, the coaching staff, or the young quarterback that they overdrafted at number 1. There was a whole lot of things wrong in Carolina last year. Maybe the Jets could benefit from someone being in a bad situation that could have higher upside. I think Chark does provide that upside. He's got the size I want. I've been talking about a big-bodied wide receiver, someone that's going to be able to be a red zone caliber threat, someone like a Mike Evans, someone like a T. Higgins, someone like a Michael Pittman, like just a bigger-bodied frame. And you can say someone like Allen Lazard, but Allen Lazard doesn't play big. I want someone that plays big. DJ Chark, to me, would have been one of those options. I'm not going to go purely in that one mindset because we do need more than just one wide receiver, in my opinion. I think we could use a slot wide receiver. To me, Curtis Samuel is a very attractive option for the New York Jets. Hometown kid from Brooklyn. Could we bring him in? I think he's going to be a little bit lower end on the totem pole as far as price goes. Maybe a max of $8 million a year. I don't know if he's even going to get that much. I wouldn't mind bringing him in. Last year, Curtis Samuel. 613 yards, 4 touchdowns for the Washington Commanders. That team was booty cheeks. Absolutely terrible. They were the NFC East version of our New York Jets. That's what it felt like. Curtis Samuel, replace a little Randall Cobb. That's an upgrade for me. I don't think you just have to go one particular route. Number 3. Really like this wide receiver. Always been a fan of him. Tyler Boyd, the 3rd wide receiver over in Cincinnati. Now, I don't think he's going to shake over to the Jets. He's talked about Mike Tomlin in the past. He's from Pittsburgh. I think he's going to go to the Steelers. But if he doesn't, I really like Tyler Boyd as like a right around a $10 million option. I think he's going to elevate up people's boards because of all the good wide receivers coming off early on here. So maybe he gets around $12 million. I think somewhere around the Lazard contract. Lazard signed 4 years, $44 million. Cap went up a bit. Somewhere in there is kind of where I would think Boyd would probably be. If you get him for less, gravy train. Number 2, I'm going to put Calvin Ridley on my board. I've always liked Calvin Ridley. Doesn't have the size that I'm looking for. And I would argue that when the Jets were interested in him 2 years ago, they wound up replacing what would have been a Calvin Ridley addition to the New York Jets with a Garrett Wilson addition. So is the playing profile too similar? The Jets obviously had interest in Devontae Adams, who, obviously fits a similar style of play to a Garrett Wilson as well. So maybe it's not really a concern for the New York Jets, and you just want to get the best possible wide receiver. Calvin Ridley easily becomes the number 1 wide receiver on every free agent board across the NFL. Over 1,000 yards last year, 75 receptions, coming off the gambling suspension. You got to think he's going to be able to have a more impactful year, having another year under his belt post-suspension. And then to me, my number 1 option, it's been my number 1 option all offseason. You guys can, talk about it all you want, even if it's possible, not possible. And that is Courtland Sutton, wide receiver from Denver. 6'4", 6'5" body frame. Going to save the Broncos about $9 million in a trade if he is moved. Now, I would love to bring in a Courtland Sutton. That's the type of person that I want to bring in here from a stature perspective. Last year had 772 yards and 10 touchdowns. That could be a red zone target for you. Catch percentage, 65.6. I'll take that. And look, he's underperformed a lot throughout his career. His time with Nathaniel Hackett, he only had 2 touchdowns. He did have over 800 yards, though. Now, there's the question of, does he want to play for Hackett? Do the Broncos even want to give him up at all? Obviously, they're trying to move Jerry Jeudy as well. Jerry Jeudy saves a little bit more salary cap space if he's moved, so maybe there's a situation where they're like, hey, we're going to hold on to a Courtland Sutton because he's slightly cheaper than what Jeudy would be, and we got to field some type of weapons. So I think there's probably some degree of concern as far as can you get him. But the wide receiver market's drying up real quick. Guys I didn't put on my list that you could absolutely talk about. Darnell Mooney, for a low-end price, for a burner over the top, I would, plug him into like the Curtis Samuel type, weapon where you could use him in the slot, but then he's also going to be a burner over the top. Hollywood Brown, I wouldn't be upset with that. He's a little bit smaller than I would like for a wide receiver too, but I think you could certainly talk about it as well. So those are my top wide receivers here. I'll throw them up on the board right here so we can discuss it. I'll throw it in the chat too. I got a poll question. Which wide receiver would you prefer? You could vote on it. I have Courtland Sutton. It has to be a trade, but his contract is 2 years, $13.5 and $14 million. So his contract is definitely favorable. Then you got Ridley. I think he's going to get somewhere around $21 million a year. Being the top wide receiver available to a lot of teams, that will push his value up. When I look at Tyler Boyd, I'm thinking somewhere in the Lazard-ish dollar figure. And then Curtis Samuel, DJ Shark, sub $8 million. I'll lump them together just because, if you guys are thinking discount brand wide receiver option and then maybe go towards a weapon in the draft, I still think number 10 could squarely be a weapon. I don't know if it's going to be Bowers at 10 or if it's going to be a Neighbors or Odunze. Obviously, Marvin Harrison Jr. is not going to slide down that far, but could the Jets be making some type of move? I would love to trade down based on what the metrics were yesterday at the Combine. I would love to get me some Brian Thomas Jr. in a little bit of a trade down scenario. Maybe you take your tackle in the second round. It depends how you feel about AVT and where you address in free agency. Because if you'd like AVT at right tackle and you're going with a Tyron Smith as your left tackle, then, tackle at 10 doesn't become quite as alarming. But this tackle class is so good. I'm going to be pissed if we wind up passing out a tackle. I don't know. We'll see. See what you guys are talking about. Mitt Flair comes in. I wanted Mike Evans more than an offensive tackle this offseason, not going to lie. I agree in terms of the free agent market. I wanted my offensive tackle to really be solved in free agency. Offensive tackle to be solved in the draft, with wide receiver being solved in free agency. But now that we've kind of whittled it down so far, I don't particularly love all the free agent remaining wide receivers. Ridley I do like. I just I'm curious to see how much he's going to get paid compared to the other guys, because this list right here is weighed based on their salaries as well. So Calvin Ridley is the best available wide receiver, but because of his price tag, you could get an extra $7 million basically by trading for Courtland Sutton if you go that route. So that would be my preferred train. Mudwild says, Justin Jefferson to the Jets. Train is still alive and running. Well, if that becomes an option, I'm trading both firsts. This year and a first next year. Definitely interested in Jefferson if he's made available, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think he's going to stay in Minnesota. Frank comes in with the great line, Rodgers can make great receivers. No offensive line, a great receiver can be wasted. That is 100% factual. 100%. So you got to make sure your quarterback's standing upright. Doesn't have enough time to get the ball downfield. That's almost like the downside of going after a deep threat right now, is because your offensive line doesn't give you the time for the deep threat to actually get all the way down the field. And then you wind up, wasting that signing and whatever money you had because you can't actually keep them upright. It's interesting. Hype comes in with a super chat. Thank you, dude. Says, I think we swap 10 with Denver and give them Zach and get Sutton and a fifth. That's the move, baby. That's what I want to do. I've been talking about the Courtland Sutton trade with Denver for it's got to be 2 months now. 3 months? I don't know. Did I have that I don't know if I had it in my first iteration of the mock draft, or the mock off season. But I've been talking about Sutton for a while now. And if you can slide down from 10 to 12 with the Broncos, the difference of a third round pick, give me Courtland Sutton. I'll take Courtland Sutton in the trade down. You solve my wide receiver problem that I would have needed to, spend a number 2 on anyway, probably, if you wanted to have an impact guy for this year. Courtland Sutton, slide down. You guys come up for J.J. McCarthy. We'll give you Zach Wilson. You could start for a little bit. You get 2 high upside type guys. Maybe that's what they do. I'm with you, Hype. I want that. Tony the GM comes in, says Aaron Rodgers, top 3 receiving targets, average 2,650 yards in his career. Garrett Wilson should get 1,400 of those yards, 700 for Conklin, and at least 700 for his third option. Spend elsewhere. So I get what you're saying, and I understand what you're saying. I think the counterpoint to this is if you're going all in a very limited amount of time, the amount of yards that you'd get from a wide receiver, even if you were to overpay for like a really good wide receiver, like let's say Evans became available and you were able to pay the amount of money needed, being able to rely on Mike Evans throughout the season. Like if you lose Garrett Wilson, like, you were in a world of hurt where like, at least if you had a strong number 1 or 1B, you're kind of cooking with fire here. I see what you're saying, because it makes sense from an allocation perspective, but I think in terms of Douglas and Saleh, like, are they going to care about the allocation of snaps when they need to win this year? That's where I kind of keep falling back on this, because like you're thinking like a fan would think, where it's like, hey, I'm going to be here for a long time. I want what's going to be best for the team long term. And I completely agree with you. I just think that the all-in nature of having Rodgers right now kind of skews what we would be planning to do with a hot seat GM. Shai says, Jets need to push for someone good. They gotta have to be able to do it. Andrew says, Mike Evans, free agency was over before it began. Time to make our offensive line look like a brick wall. Yeah, you just spend a free agent offensive lineman at this point. I don't want to overpay an offense. I don't want to overpay a wide receiver that's like not a Mike Evans. I'm okay paying top dollar for like the elite guy. And Ridley's like on that, cusp. 21 million would be a lot for him though. I don't particularly love that. Rico the pup comes in. What's up, Rico? Says, I guess her source, a.k.a. the guy that refills the vending machine snacks, was wrong on this one. Yeah, Deanna Rossini's swing and a miss. Mitt Flair says, draft a wide receiver at 10 before you take DJ Shark. Well, DJ Shark's going to cost you like $5 million, probably at most. I do like the idea of going wide receiver at 10, but I don't know if I want the big body guy, Brian Thomas Jr. would be the wide receiver that I would want, assuming Neighbors, Odunze, and Marvin Harrison Jr. are off the board. Bowers, very interesting conversation to have, because then you can have the argument of having an elite wide receiver, an elite tight end, and an elite running back at 3 different levels of your offense. I think that is entirely enticing. But I like the size profile of a Brian Thomas Jr., which I think you should probably be able to still trade down. Mitt Flair says, injury prone and can't catch. What was his drop pass percentage? I don't actually know if I have that on here. So his drop percentage last year was 6% compared to Lazard's 17%. So I don't know. DJ Shark for $5 million seems like a fine move. What's crew? What's good, dude? Says, seems like you are seeing what Dom C was seeing about Latham after the combine, like the pick swap for Sutton, then draft Latham. So I was watching I did not watch the combine. I wound up getting the results from the combine. So if I missed some nuanced things that were going on at the combine, I apologize. But I was out seeing Dune 2. So that's what I was doing yesterday. But yes, Dom C's been high on Latham for a while. I got to ask Dom again. I don't remember if Latham was his number 2 or number 3 offensive tackle. But yeah, it shifted my rankings a little bit. And it's kind of like muddying the water. Like for me, Joe Alt is clearly the number 1 tackle. And then 2 through 5 are kind of interchangeable. Amarius Mims would probably be my number 2 tackle if he had more snaps under his belt. But the injuries from last year, just like the nagging ankle injury, and then just not having a lot of snaps, does give me a little more pause for concern compared to the durability that we've seen from a Latham, Fashanu, and a Fuaga. I would be happy with any one of them. And then Guyton's like high upside, worst case scenario type sort of player as well. But yep, I agree with you. Sutton. That's all I want. Shoot it right into the veins. Kevin comes in. Kevin says, I was one of the few that wanted Ridley when he got out of the suspension. Nobody wanted him, but it was interesting because Evans said he wanted an elite quarterback status. So according to Rossini as well, that Mike Evans wanted or told his agent that he wanted to stay in Tampa Bay yesterday and to get it done, and that's why it happened earlier today. As far as Calvin Ridley getting out and trading a pick for him last year, he wound up going for a 4th and a conditional 4th. So it was a 4th that could have been it was a baseline 4th for this upcoming draft. If he got over 1,000 yards and 75 receptions, which he probably wouldn't have had with us this past year, it would only be a 3rd round pick. or it would be a third-round pick. And then if you extended him on it, it would be a second-round pick. So you'd have to say you're okay with Calvin Ridley giving up a second-round pick, a fourth-round pick, and the contract. As just a little bit of context to this. At the time, for the most recent trade for Calvin Ridley, I was on it before we drafted Garrett Wilson, and I would even that same offseason, I would have been fine with it. But after having Garrett Wilson on the roster, having Elijah Moore at the time, having Corey Davis, you bring in a Mecole Hardman, you bring in a Lazard. I thought we were gonna be okay for last year. So I don't know. It sucks that it didn't work out. Rusty Spooner says, "What's up, Brian? Gangrene fam. Is Michael Pittman Jr. a real possibility for us? He's in the $7 to $10 million range. Guy's a beast too. There's no way he's in the $7 to $10 million range. You're out of your mind. He's gonna get franchise tagged. He's gonna get like $20 million a year, easily. I think he gets tagged this year and signs a contract next year. It sounds like he wants to play on the franchise tag." Muffao says, "Say it with me, Justin Jefferson is a New York Jet." Could you imagine calling Garrett Wilson your number 2 wide receiver? That'd be bonkers. Andrew Yako says, "Did not expect Evans, just saying." I think well, put it this way. I did not expect Mike Evans. I expected the Jets to go hard after Mike Evans. Now, apparently, according to Rossini, the Jets were not interested in Evans whatsoever. Maybe not. I'm not interested in Jennifer Aniston either, because I don't think I'll wind up landing her. No, look, Mike Evans, to me, the Jets should have been high on the list. Like, they should have wanted to go after him. Then when the comments got released yesterday where it's like, hey, he's looking for an elite level quarterback, a shot for a Super Bowl, and you can kind of eliminate some of these other teams, then it's like, all right, well, maybe it is a shot. He's not just going for money. And clearly he didn't actually go for the money. He took a lesser deal to stay with Tampa. Interesting. Jonathan Moore says, "Draft Odunze, trade for Bowles, sign one more offensive lineman." Jonathan Moore! Have you and I have been playing Call of Duty together? Is that why you know my numbers and my what I want? I would love Odunze. I'm a big Odunze guy. I don't think he's making it to 10. But maybe if more quarterbacks wind up pushing up the board, I am totally down with getting Odunze at number 10. Trading for Bowles, Garrett Bowles, left tackle from the Broncos. That's who I want. That's my guy. If I could have one offensive lineman this offseason, it would be Garrett Bowles, because the health is there. The penalties have come down since his first 3 years. He's been pretty healthy, and his PFF grades look pretty solid. I'm on board with this. Kevin says, replace replacement for Randall Cobb. The thing with OBJ is he still got a lot of money last year. Like, are the Jets going to give him like $12 or $13 million to be a Cobb replacement? That feels like a lot to me. That feels like a lot. Regal Pup says, "I like Ridley more, but Sutton's contract is too appealing." That's the thing with Sutton, is like, you trade for him, you could guarantee his salary for the next 2 years, and it's still going to be like not 10 million, but it's probably gonna be like $6 or $7 million less per year than what Ridley's gonna get. I'm high on the Sutton train. Yako says, "Rodgers can't throw from his hiney. Must pick up offensive line with 10, period." I don't think I wouldn't have thought to spell Heine that way, but I guess that makes sense. Blitzcrew, what's up? Says, "Thinking of picking up golf. Know a place in central New Jersey for me to learn. Mike Evans would have been nice. Need offensive line addressed before huge swings at wide receiver." So as far as the golf stuff in central Jersey, go to a driving range. A Topgolf would be a blast. If you're trying to get into golf, getting into the fun side of like the games of a Topgolf, I think when I was doing research with Topgolf, because we were going to bring them into my course for their Top Tracer, they were saying that I think it's 70 or 80% of their base clientele considers themselves non-golfers. So it's like, think bowling alley, but like on a driving range. So if you want to learn, I would say go to, I know Jackson, is it Jackson? New Jersey has a Topgolf, or Edison, New Jersey has a Topgolf next to Six Flags. So you could head that way. As far as Mike Evans, yeah, look, that was the dream, right? Just a lot of money and a lot of resources to go that direction. Christopher Phillips comes in with a super chat. Thank you, dude. Says, "Trade the 2025 first round and move up in the draft for Marvin Harrison Jr. or Joe Alt." If I had to move the 2025 first round pick and it became a legitimate option, I would be looking at Brandon Ayuk. Ayuk's the one I would really want, because I would pay him the money. He's so young at 25 years old. If he actually shakes free and becomes available, Ayuk would actually jump probably 2. Like Sutton to me still just has like Sutton's nowhere near the wide receiver that Ayuk is, but the contract is going to be absolutely enormous. And Ayuk, you probably run into a situation where his contract may end up being conflicting with a Garrett Wilson one at some point. But I would not move the 2025 first for to get up to number 4. Oh man, that's tough. Because like as much as I like Joe Alt, I don't want to. That's a lot to give up for him. I don't think I would do that with how good this offensive tackle class is. And I like Marvin Harrison Jr., but I don't necessarily like him more than like a lot of the other wide receivers in this. I shouldn't say a lot of the other wide receivers, but like the top 3 or 4 wide receivers in this class. Scott V says, Denver won't deal with us. We have bad blood. Oh, but they would want maybe Zach Wilson, wouldn't they? Come on. Giving away snow in the winter for us. Frank says, oh, wait, Woody Johnson is the ringleader. Yes, he is. It's true. Shit flows downstream, starts at the top. NYY says, Sean Payton looking at Zach Wilson like the next Drew Brees. It would happen to us. Yeah, if Sean Payton turns Zach Wilson into Drew Brees 2.0, I'm going to be kind of irritated because he's in the AFC. But it just gives us more, I guess, firepower to be upset with our own coaching. I don't know. I hate it. Regal the Pup says, although I'd be happy as hell to get Sutton, I think Jerry Jeudy is much more likely to be traded than Sutton. Sutton fits the mold of the type of receiver Peyton likes more than Jeudy. Yeah, Sutton fits more of the Michael Thomas type wide receiver, who is actually also going to be available. And I almost put him on here, but he's always hurt. So I didn't really want to deal with him. But you could argue that him on a lower end contract could be more appealing than like a Curtis Samuel or a DJ Shark because of his upside. And I would agree. I think Jeudy is more likely to be traded purely because of his cap number too. I think Judy's like a $14 or $15 million a year salary cap, 5th year option. So they may be looking to move him. Thomas says, oh, I just heard Evans goes to the Bucs. Another video of wasted speculation. Yeah, look, hey, the shelf life on videos when doing news-related things, not very good. It's not like your favorite YouTubers when they make a video and they get a zillion views because it's shelf stable for a year. This stuff is good sometimes it's good for an hour, 2 hours. It's brutal when that goes down. Matt Curtis, hey, what's good, dude? Haven't talked to you in a minute. Says, we got to go all in on offensive line. We got 3 holes to fill. We do. You got to fill them the right way. And I do think McGovern's definitely going to be coming back. I think the emergency situation is him probably playing center if you can't figure out a better way to fill out interior offensive line, whether that be way of center or guard. Tackle, I would expect the Jets to probably go after Tyron Smith. I hope we do at least. And then you got to draft someone at number 10. I think that's where I sort of fall on this. GMB says, if the Vikings don't want to pay Justin Jefferson, I want him. Yes, 100%. I would throw both firsts at him for the next 2 years. No questions asked. Muttwiles, sign Tyron Smith at left guard. Tyron Smith at left tackle. Hunt at left guard. Zeitler at right guard. From the Ravens, kick AVT to right tackle. Trade number 10 and a 2025 third for Justin Jefferson. Sign him 5 years, $150 million, $105 million guaranteed. Yes. Yep. Uh-huh. Yep. Uh-huh. Yes. I will sign up for this. Yes, in a heartbeat. Let's do it. Jonathan says, we should try and go get Mecole Hardman. Oh, geez. Rico. Latham did dispel a lot of weight concerns. Came in almost 20 pounds lighter than his playing weight. His penalties give me more concern than his weight. So a lot of the rumors around his weight were like 260, 270. They were, 360, 370. And he comes in at what, 242, I think was his weigh-in weight yesterday at the combine. Latham looks good, and his metrics are enormous. His hands are gigantic. His wingspan is huge. A lot of people like him. Dom C likes him. I know Blewett likes him. Those are 2 guys I trust on tape, and definitely like that. JD Jet says, bro, I'll be blown if we go Mims. Give me production over potential at this time, please. I really like Amarius Mims a lot. But I'm with you. I would go with production over the gamble. The Jets just don't feel like in a gamble spot right now, unless like they think Rodgers is playing like 4 or 5 more years and they want to get the best possible guy. That would be, I'd be shocked if they went with Amarius Mims, but man, his size profile is something special. Chris George says, if we could get Bakhtiari for a prove-it deal, could we also go and get Tyron Unfamiliar with the money, but then we could make a best player available draft pick in the draft. Bakhtiari, I don't know when he's going to sign. If he's going to have to pass a physical first, it may be closer to the draft or after the draft. If I'm not mistaken, he said he was having off-season surgery as well as the surgery that he had back in September or October. So I don't think he's ready to pass a physical yet. I would be surprised if you went after and got Tyron Smith's still going to get paid like $12 to $14 million. I would think Bakhtiari is probably going to be about the same. I don't think you're going to be able to get them both for that. And even if you get one of them, I don't think I see the other one coming here. I think one of them would want to start. Hype says, Blitz Crew, I agree with you. Dom C says, Latham is the pick, and after his combine, I agree more. Yeah, look, that's why Latham jumped up to number 2 on my offensive line thing. Guy's just a rock. Guy's got tree trunks for legs. Matt Curtis says, got to bring back McGovern. Yep, I'm on board 100%. JD Jets says, Alt, Olu, Fuaga / Latham, greater than Mims for the Jets. I would agree. I would say those 4 would be the ones that I'd be looking at, just because I don't like the low floor potential of Mims right now. Any interest in Deontay Johnson from Pittsburgh? He's on the block. I guess it depends what it would cost to trade for him. I would be interested. Brian says, no DJ Shark, no Samuel. These guys are free every year and not better than what we have, to be honest. I don't want a guy on his 4th team. I don't know if DJ Shark is the reason the Panthers offense was bad last year. The Panthers offense was bad last year because the Panthers offense stinks. They were not good. I would roll the dice on a very cheap DJ Shark or Curtis Samuel. You got to have expectation differences for the wide receivers you're looking at. Like, if I'm signing one of these 3, Tyler Boyd, Curtis Samuel, DJ Shark, I am not expecting the production of a Calvin Ridley or a Courtland Sutton. Like, if I'm signing Calvin Ridley, he better be a high-end number 2 or a low-end number 1. It's going to be hard to recoup the value from a Calvin Ridley contract, where Curtis Samuel and DJ Shark, you don't necessarily need a crazy ton of stats to make up for the contract they'd be getting. Christopher says, just trade up for Joe Alt or Marvin Harrison Jr. This pick needs to solve a problem. Trade the 2025 pick. I do not want to move 2025 first. It would have to be for like a proven commodity. I don't want to, I'm not interested in going up that high. Knob grabbed. Is it possible to draft good luck? Oh, man. Wish we could. JT says, I'd rather not. Cobb is much cheaper for the same output. I don't want Cobb. I feel like the Curtis Samuel option is a better move than Cobb. Mike D's Life says, Garrett Wilson, Justin Jefferson, Breece Hall, and Brock Bowers would be wild. Got a dream. You're not getting Bowers if you're going after Justin Jefferson. You're giving up that 10. Hype says Cobb's not going anywhere. I know it's probably wishful thinking to think that Cobb is not going to be on the New York Jets, but given that Rodgers wanted to play with him at least for one season and he only got 4 snaps into this season, you got to think Cobb might be coming back in some capacity. I don't love it. JT says Sutton would be my move as well. We need the size profile to go with Garrett Wilson. We need to complement Garrett if we want our offense going off like we envision. I agree. I think if you get some guys that complement one another, then you're not like tied into the same situations constantly. Big body wide receiver. We had issues with Ridley. Not with Ridley. Sorry, with the red zone. Got to figure it out. Caden says Ridley at $21 million. Yeah, no, thank you. I honestly think that's what he's going to get. I'm looking at his contract. The Spot Track has him projected for $17.5 million. I would be pretty surprised if that's how low he went for, considering he'll be the top option for a lot of teams in free agency. Would just be surprising. Blitzkrieg, Marvin Harrison Jr. would be higher for me than Ayuk. The cheaper 5-year contract would be worth it. So I guess it depends what you'd have to give up. Because I'm thinking in my mind, if you're trading for Ayuk, you're probably giving up 10, getting back 31, and then maybe throwing in an additional pick. Where if you're going up for Marvin Harrison Jr., you're probably giving up next year's first in addition to this year's first to go up to get him. And I don't particularly love that. Michael Ninzo says, I don't really want Courtland Sutton. Is there a reason why? His contract's really good. That's what makes him at the top of this list, which it means when people screen grab this, I'm going to look like a clown because they're probably thinking Courtland Sutton at like $20 million. Why would he do that over, I don't know. Dark Soldier says, Sutton fumbled and lost 3 fumbles in 59 receptions. That's a lot. Fumbles are weird, though. They're not, I mean, I guess you could, did he have more than just that, too? Let's see. Where's Cortland Sutton? I have his numbers pulled up here. Fumbles, lost 3 fumbles this year. Had 3 fumbles. Was it actually 3 fumbles lost and recovered by own team? Number of times fumbled, both lost and recovered by own team. These represent all fumbles by players on offense, defense, and special teams. Okay, so he fumbled a total of 3 times. He lost it 3 times. That's not good. I'd have to go back and see how he actually got hit or fumbled. Dev S2K says, Ryan, what are your thoughts on Mike Williams? He has the size profile. I think he's going to be cheaper. He'll probably be somewhere around $14 million. I don't love the injury history. He's always had like some kind of nagging injuries, but he's definitely going to get cut by the Chargers to save money if he hasn't been cut already. If you wanted to plug him in there instead of DJ Shark, I'd be fine with that. I think the expectation is probably not going to be something crazy high. He's coming off an ACL injury that he hurt, I think, week 2 of the season. So something to keep in mind as well. Caden says, Brock Bowers. I really like Brock Bowers. If the Jets want to go Brock Bowers because they feel they have solidified their offensive line in free agency, I'm okay with that. I have no problem going Brock Bowers. Let's see. If Fuaga, Olu, and Alt are all gone, it's going to be Latham. Yeah, 100%. I would think so. Matthew, do you have any jerseys you're going to buy once they show the new ones next month? Yes. So I really want to get, I want to get a few different ones. So I definitely want to get a Jermaine Johnson jersey. I don't have his yet. That's high up on my list. A Garrett Wilson number 5 is high up on my list. And I kind of, honestly, I kind of want a Morstead jersey. Like his clap back to Hardman. I was a punter in high school too. So like there's like, I don't know. I love the special teams guys. And I love having like some like off, not off brand, but like some very weird jerseys at times. But yeah, I would say Jermaine Johnson and Garrett Wilson are the 2 that I'm really looking at for getting the new jersey. Joe says, we should target Roman Wilson in the 3rd at wide receiver. Really impressed at the combine. His potential could be future wide receiver number 2 behind Garrett. I think he's going to go a little bit higher than our 3rd round pick. I would agree with you though. Big Green likes Tyler Boyd. Good man. I like you as well. Kaisin, I hope I pronounced that right. I hate the idea of putting Elijah Vera Tucker at left tackle. Just because he's capable and willing to play left tackle doesn't mean it's best for him. He's a guard. He gets injured at tackle. He's tackle, not left tackle. Thought you screwed up your L's and T's, but you did it 3 times, so it's tackle. Yeah, look, I want AVT at guard because it makes me feel like we have solved the offensive line problem better than where I feel like it would be if we plugged him in at tackle. If you're planning to have AVT at tackle, I feel like you're probably not feeling super confident about the rest of the tackles in free agency. So I do kind of agree with you there. Papa says, good morning, Ryan. I like Samuel. He may even be cheaper. He'll be way cheaper for sure. Mitt Flair, what about Michael Pittman? He's going to get franchise tagged or he's going to re-sign in Indianapolis. If he doesn't and he shakes free, top of my list. Hands down. Hands down. What's up, Tigo? Good to have you in the chat, dude. Steve says, don't draft Latham. It's hard for those giant tackles to keep up with these faster defensive ends of today. I don't know, dude. Latham's like, he's got a big-ass wingspan. I would not be upset with this. Ryan, would you trade a 4th and next year's 5th for Amari Cooper? Yeah, I would do that. If that's an option. I don't know what his contract is. What's his contract looking like? Let's see. If he were to become available, so he's got 3 years. He's on the last year. Oh, he's got a $20 million contract though. Nah, I don't know if I don't want to do that. Not for Cooper. If he wants to restructure and we keep him for the next 3 years and knock that $20 million cap hit down, I would consider that. Tom, what's up? Tom says, it won't make a difference. The Jets will be awful again this year with a broken 40-year-old quarterback. AVT is injury prone. We have 3 offensive linemen to fill, which JD has proven he can never do. Sal and JD are gone. Well, I'm glad you're looking at everything through the glass half full lens, Tom. Papa, Cobb still has player coach potential. I'm good with him at wide receiver 6. Yeah, look, I'm not going to be upset, but your slot wide receiver is going to be seeing playing time, and I would rather an upgrade from Cobb or an upgrade from Gibson. Like, you could call him wide receiver 6 all you want. He's going to be on the field on third downs. Christopher says the 2025 pick is going to be a 19 or 2021 first at best. I think you're saying that's where we're going to be, like early first round exit of the playoffs, I think is what you're implying there. Tigo, Ridley doesn't get $21 million a year in free agency, in my opinion. That's crazy. I also think we could find a big-bodied X in the draft on day 2 or 3. Brendan Rice, Xavier Leggett, Cornelius Johnson, Luke McCaffrey. Give me Samuel. So I do like Curtis Samuel. I would like Brendan Rice. If you could get him in your third round, that's why I feel like, man, if you could just trade down for the Jets just a little bit and get a second-round pick, the second round is where I would like to target my wide receiver. Xavier Leggett, Tez Walker, like some of those guys, they didn't. I think both of them had rough Senior Bowls, if I'm not mistaken. But Brendan Rice, I sign on for that all damn day. Knobcraft says, if they're going to pay Sutton $20 million, they might as well trade for Jefferson and make the investment better. Why would you pay Sutton $20 million? He's under contract for the next 2 years. He's under contract for $13.5 and $14 million. That's why Sutton's at the top of my list. Because you don't have to pay him that much. Stokillo, I think Boyd has solid under-the-radar option. We don't need a number 1 wide receiver. A solid number 2 behind Wilson is what we need. I agree. I just think Tyler Boyd's going to go to Pittsburgh. That would be my guess. Danny says, happy with Ridley or Sutton. They're good number 2 wide receivers. Garrett Wilson, it was hurting this year. Also draft Bowers. I'm a big fan of Bowers. I want to find a way to get him, but I just have a hard time passing on all these good offensive tackle prospects in a heavy offensive tackle draft. Like, that feels like, to me, the move of not taking a wide receiver in either the Mike Evans, Odell Beckham Jr. draft, where we took a safety, or the, or if you were to pass on like the last draft with like Garrett Wilson and like all those guys. Like, I don't think you pass on the lineman. Matt Curtis, where in Central Florida, Jets fans? I just moved from New Jersey. Ah, Matt, going down to the Florida route. Tigo says he's in Orlando. Or Orlando has a really good. I think, Tigo, you're up at the Panhandle, I think, aren't you? I think that's what you're saying. JT says, I'm snagging Wilson, Brees, Jermaine Johnson, Quinnen, and Quincy jerseys at some point. Quincy's a good one. I would really like to get a Quincy jersey. Jermaine Johnson for me was a draft crush to the point where I said if Sauce wasn't available at 4, I would have taken JJ at 4. And I'm glad that he's turning into like a stud right now because my evaluation wasn't that far off. Now, granted, it was off because we got him at 26, but value-wise, like from a player perspective, I really like Jermaine Johnson a lot. Dakota says, load up the offensive line. Overload the offensive line. Steve says, AVT may love playing left tackle because it's a bigger payday when guard in free agency than guard in free agency, but it may be bad for him staying healthy. So AVT is going to get the 5th-year option, which is going to pay him like a top offensive tackle anyway. So the Jets are kind of in this weird flux of, do we try to play money ball and have certain valued contracts at certain positions, or do you say, hey, AVT is our best option at tackle, so that's where he's going to play. I think he's our best option at guard, and the money may not make sense from a 5th-year option perspective, but if he's going to be a top guards still get paid really well. Like, I think the top guards, they're talking about like a lot of these guards that are hitting free agency are going to be in like the $16 million a year range, which is like bonkers. If you're looking at $16 million for a guard, I have no problem exercising AVT's 5th-year option. I think that will be the telling tale, is if some of these guys like Robert Hunt or Dotson or whatever wind up going for higher contracts than people expect. I think that'll push the Jets more into the AVT guard scenario. Hawk says, if Cobb is going to be right where Rodgers wants him, I'm fine with him being on the field on 3rd down for the league minimum. Yeah, as long as he produces, that's fine. I would like to see someone that could be on the field outside of 3rd downs. But look, hey, we're Team Aaron right now. Whatever he wants is what we're probably going to do. Dev, how about Michael Gallup? He could be on the move. I wanted Michael Gallup a few years ago, and then he tore his ACL, was it 2-3 years ago? I haven't really kept up with him since, I'll be honest. GMB Smo says, you guys do know that it's not easy as you think scouting these wide receivers, the surefire ones in the late rounds, to be impact players right off the bat. So the late rounds, yeah, for sure. It's very tough to get guys right. If that's the case, Puka Nacua doesn't go as late as he does. No, Tigo is in Orlando. He lives 5 minutes from UCF. I was going to say, my things always get confused. Sneezing now. Hawk says, Jermaine's going to have a C on his chest one day. I hope it's this year. I hope he becomes our captain on the D-line alongside of Quinnen. Stokillo. Would also be okay if every single investment, free agent, and draft were all allocated to the offensive line. I know it's not realistic, but the line is so much of a bigger concern for me than wide receiver. We got to get another wide receiver in some capacity. You got to spend one pick, whether it's the third round pick or some investment in free agency. The free agent wide receivers, the free agent group in general does not look very attractive. So do you play money ball like with the tier 2 wide receivers? I like the idea of trading for someone. Sutton is a really good trade option. Mike Williams does move up a little bit on my list if he's cut, which I think he will ultimately get cut. He'd probably be in place of DJ Shark, if I'm being honest. Jets Fan 4 says, JD really effed up last year. This year, pretty much every edge will be available for us at 10. In my opinion, all are better than McDonald. I don't think we go with an edge this year if we didn't go with one last year. I mean, I guess we could have. We're going to have a lot of options. Dallas Turner might be the first one off the board. He's the one I'd want, I think. Latu is interesting. The neck injury, as long as that's all healed up. Look, I'm on record. I was not a fan of the Will McDonald pick last year. Even before the pick went in, I was saying, if it's an edge rusher, that's the one type of position I would not be on board with. Tim comes in and says, Samuel would be a solid signing if we can make a reasonable trade for Sutton. We're in good shape. Sutton is absolutely the move, in my opinion. I'm going to keep banging that drum. Gotta keep saying it. Johnny says, man, I want O-line. Let's get it. Smith, Runyon, Tittman, AVT, Fuaga. Our line will be a monster. Runyon, the guard from Green Bay, makes a lot of sense. I feel like if we're going to go after Tyron Smith, I feel like we're probably going to look at Bakhtiari as well. I wouldn't mind a situation where we get like a Jonah Williams and then bring in a Bakhtiari after the draft. And we pencil in like AVT at one of the tackle spots. It's not my ideal way the offensive line gets handled, but upside-wise from Bakhtiari is pretty attractive. And then that means you could keep Jonah Williams on the right-hand side and AVT stays at guard. Rico says, I don't understand the playing offensive tackle got AVT hurt narrative. Dr. Chow said the Achilles had nothing to do with offensive tackle. His other injury was a blown triceps. I think that narrative is overblown. I completely agree. That has been my take the entire time. Tigo, Puka went late because injury concern, not play on the field. I don't know what his injury history was last year. I'll be honest. Or not last year, 2 years ago, college. Ricky says, I agree with that list, but I'd swap Mooney with Shark. I do like Darnell Mooney. I had him on my list to watch earlier in the offseason, and he's a take the top off the defense type of wide receiver. And if we're going to solve the offensive line and actually develop some routes downfield, I'm okay with Mooney. I'm cool with that. Mooney's someone that I would not plug in as wide receiver too, though. He would be a replacement for like a Cobb for me. And maybe Cobb is the guy that comes in on third downs to be the red zone, or not the red zone, the third down, first down type guy, where Mooney's like, hey, we're going to take the top off, and he's going to be there for first and second downs. JT says, I agree. JJ needs a C on his chest. What is it? 3 defensive and 3 offensive are the rules for nominating captains. No, I don't think there's any rules that I'm aware of. The Jets, I think last year had 1 defense, 1 special teams, and 1 offense. So it was Rodgers, Rodgers, CJ. I think it was Rodgers, CJ, and Hardy. And then I'm pretty sure when Rodgers went down, I think that C got moved over to Quinnen. Maybe I'm wrong on that, though. I think the Jets, you can pick whatever, but I think the Jets probably had, they only chose the 3. Rico says, talking to Tigo, Salah mentioned it offhandedly and quickly walked back on it, and now it's the narrative every fan uses for AVT not playing tackle. Well, look, I don't want AVT to play tackle just because I feel like he's better on the interior long term. I like what we got from him. Now, it's weird because his stats do look better at tackle. So, I don't know. Just plug him in wherever. I don't really care at this point. Just keep Rodgers upright. Papa says, every 5th ball Cobb caught last year was a touchdown. Hard facts. Is that because he caught 5 balls last year and the 5th one was a touchdown? Dakota does not like Bakhtiari. Bakhtiari's cooked, but screw it. Oh, so I guess you're okay. So I like Bakhtiari, just not as the option 1 for us. If he comes in after the draft, I'm okay with that. Scott says, pumped for legal tampering period to begin next week. Let's get this roster together. Yeah, we're going to be going live during the tampering period. So we got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of stuff going on. Oh, love me some rumors. Hope we get our answer on Huff soon. I would be shocked if he came back here. Sherwin says, good afternoon. After watching Joe Milton at the Combine, he will be a great pickup in the 3rd or 4th round. His arm and running potential is unreal. I do not want to spend that high of a pick on Joe Milton. I did have a tweet yesterday that a lot of people did not like, and that is okay with me. I would like to go with a quarterback in the 4th, not named Joe Milton. But if Joe Milton's available in the 6th or 7th round, that's when I would pull the trigger on him. He was not a very good quarterback in college. But the upside with the athletic specimen that he is, I'd let him sit and kind of figure it out for a little bit. Why not? At least it's interesting. If I'm looking at quarterback, I'm probably looking at someone like Michael Pratt or a Spencer Rattler. That would be the route I'd kind of want to go. The Jets are looking at a lot of quarterbacks at the Combine. Very interesting. See where they go. Ricky says, Ryan, if they said with the 10th pick the Jets select Jared Verse, this fan base will have a meltdown. I will lose my ever-loving bananas. I will lose my... You will see... I'm going to be a very upset Ryan if the Jets go with a defensive player in the 1st round. Matthew says, 2009-2010 season, we're all about offensive line. I'd love a little slice of that next year with Rodgers instead of Sanchez. I would, yes. All the offensive linemen. I want every single one of them. Choranzan. Probably pronouncing that wrong. That's okay. I think there's a chance we'll bring back Huff, but McDonald is going to shock people this year. We're really sleeping on this kid. He's an absolute monster. I'm not upset with Will McDonald at all. I think he is going to be a good player. I'm upset we wasted that pick on a non-wide receiver or a non-offensive lineman. That's more where I'm upset with, because then we could keep Bryce Huff this year and not use number 10 on one of the wide receiver or offensive linemen that we were planning on doing. So I have no bad feelings towards McDonald. I just have regrets of the pick because of the perceived timeline. Now, if Rodgers is going to play 5 years, that kind of throws a wrench into my argument a little bit. But I think it's going to be a short stint here. Hawk says, I'm actually starting to come around to the fact that AVT playing tackle might be safer for him than playing guard. Setting your power base at guard against a bull rush is more of a strain on the Achilles. That's what Dom C's been saying too. Dom's been saying tackle is going to be a little bit more of less pressure put on it, because you're still going to put the same amount of weight in terms of anchoring, but dealing with a 320-pound defensive tackle versus a 250-pound defensive edge, maybe a little bit different. Stokillo. To be honest, if we're ever playing in Mile High, I'm making AVT a healthy scratch from now on. Not allowing that evil to happen to him again. Yeah, if we play in Denver again, I would not let AVT play. For no other reason other than pure superstition. I don't care what the doctors say. It doesn't matter. Sorry, I don't believe your medicine. Your Achilles and your biceps knew you were in Denver playing at a mile high. So no, you're not allowed to play. Gerger says, sorry I joined late, but is there justification for why you have Sutton over Ridley? Yes, Gerger. So the reason Sutton is above Ridley is because Sutton is a trade and his contract is 13.5 and 14 million the next 2 years. Where Ridley, I'm expecting to get north of $20 million. I'm thinking he's going to get $21 million a year, and I don't love Ridley for that price. If you could tell me I'd get Ridley for the Courtland Sutton price, Ridley would be above Courtland Sutton. I think the contract is really the big issue for me. Dakota says, hit those milk thumbs. Where's my little button? Milk thumbs button. Milk thumbs. Hey, yeah. That's what I want to see. Let's see. Sherwin says, Joe Milton learning from Rodgers for a year can be a great thing. Man, I don't love Milton like for a year. Like he's someone that like you don't know who to pick in a late round and you're like, let's throw a dart at someone high upside because the dart you throw there is probably not very good. Anyway, dude threw the ball, what, like 50? No, he threw like 70 or 80 yards. It's a monster throw. Mars Blackman says, Ryan, if you want Rodgers to stay upright, you got to start pronouncing, I'm going to keep checking it up. I know it's not Fuaga. I see the word and I say Fuaga. It's Funga. Talise Funga. I'll get it right. Dakota. The Jet Life Turf Monster wouldn't let that happen. It would eat Joe Milton's career and the Jets alive. Not happening at all. It's going to be the same with every player we wind up getting. GMB says, I want the Jets to draft Spencer Rattler or Joe Milton to develop in the later rounds if possible. So Rattler's probably going to have to be a third-round pick, which I don't love spending a third-round pick on a backup quarterback. But if you like him enough and you're not sure a third-round selection at any other position is going to start for you this year, I'm okay with that. But I would not take Milton that high. Milton's a lot lower on my list in terms of where I would think to take him. Matthew, does anybody trust Hackett to make a good use of Brock Bowers if they scooped him up? No, but I trust Aaron Rodgers to. Rigo Bupp says, Joe Milton is a 24-year-old who has 1 year of starting in college. He doesn't need a year as a backup. He needs 3 at least. Dude is the definition of developmental. Yeah, he's going to have to sit for a while. 100%. That's why I said like 6th or 7th round pick. It's not someone that I'm looking to really be on the roster if I had to guess here. JT says, I lost it when we drafted McDonald last year. If we do the same thing this year, God, I will lose it. Yo, when we took McDonald, Gator just did a good impersonation of Green Bean during that draft. We were sitting there like, Will McDonald. What? Who did we just take? That was not on our radar at all. Rico says 60 yards with a flick of a wrist. Yeah, he's got a cannon for an arm. Lonely says Jets receive Brandon Ayuk. A first-round pick swap, 32 overall. A second-round pick. Second-round pick. Niners receive first overall, 10th pick, and a third-round pick. Are you saying the Jets give up number 10 and our third-round pick for the 31st overall pick and their second-round pick and Ayuk? No, they're not going to do that. That's crazy. If we're trading down that far, it's just I don't think we're getting anything additional other than Ayuk. I would love it. Sign up for that. But yes, I don't think so. R&R, totally banana. Cue the banana. I can cue the banana. I've got the banana right here. No, where'd I put it? There's banana. Coming out, baby. Banana Land. Fears Grim. Do you think the Jets bring back Folorunzu Fatukasi? No, I thought I heard he was retiring. I don't know if that's accurate or not. If he's not retiring, maybe. I don't know. I actually have not followed him since he left the Jets. Phil Adams. JD needs to work more magic than David Copperfield in the next 2 months or 2024 will disappear up its own ass. Look, as long as Rodgers stays healthy for the entire season, at least we're going to enjoy watching football. Is that really all I want? I say I want playoffs, but man, just watching a competent team would be wonderful. Scott says, I'm really hoping McDonald shows up in camp. Bulked up, dude needs to put on some weight. If he looks like how Jermaine Johnson looked in camp last year, like it was clear as day when you saw Jermaine Johnson perform in camp. I went to I think I only missed 1 or 2 days of training camp. Jermaine Johnson looked every bit the part we saw in like real game footage. Jermaine Johnson was a freak last summer. Austin says, I'm eating a banana right now because this is Banana Land news. God, I love the banana coming out. NY just Florida. Anyone else annoyed that the NFL with the NFL Combine coverage, Eisen, etc., all blabbering away and useless blimp shots? Look, the Combine is a tough thing to watch for a lot of people because you're not really seeing a whole lot of football. You have to know some of the numbers, right? Like 34-inch arms for a tackle. You want to run sub 4.5 for receivers and defensive backs. But there's always like exceptions to the rule. There's always really good players that don't have a great, short shuttle time or don't have a great 40 time. They're just like, okay. I usually Combine as like a little checkbox. I don't generally watch it too closely. Like what I'll do is I'll have it on in the background while I'm doing other stuff. And if something pops up that catches my ear, that's usually when I'm paying attention to it. It's like a baseball game for me. Like I don't generally sit and watch a full baseball game. I'll have it on while I'm doing other stuff. GBM says, listen, if Will McDonald is a good player, nobody will complain, especially if we lose Huff, because technically there's going to be a whole lot that position opposite JJ, so everyone can chill on the pick. We still need to bring in an edge rusher, though. That's the thing. Like, because you're losing Huff, you're losing Lawson, and I don't think they're planning on JJ and McDonald to eat all those snaps when they've been doing a healthy rotation the rest of the last few years. Dakota says, I'm a truther. Every single offensive tackle in the draft. We're going to take them all in. Ricky says, I think people are overlooking Jordan Travis took part in the Senior Bowl where Ulbrich coached and the Combine because he couldn't take the field but went through the rest of the process. So I do like Jordan Travis in like the 4th round. If you can get him in the 4th and you want to stash him on IR for a year, I don't want to carry 3 quarterbacks into the season. That's where like Travis becomes a little more attractive to me. I think Rattler and Pratt are probably 2 better quarterbacks, but I wouldn't be upset with a Jordan Travis. Rico says, I really wish I had the volume lower when you did that milk thumbs thing. Sorry. I don't know what the volume is on that, so I probably should look at it. I think I have the slider slightly down. I could turn it down a little bit. See if we hit that. Sherwin says, I trust our coaching staff with management the most since we had Bill Parcells. I have all the faith in them. We should extend the coach for 10 years, GM Douglas for 15. So Sherwin clearly not thrilled with what's going on. Stakillo, I would really love Rattler. If he's available in the later rounds, prefer going with high upside guys that can develop. I think Rattler's going to be going up draft boards. He had a really good Senior Bowl, and then I'm sure he probably did a really good Combine. I actually didn't follow much of him at the Combine, I'll be honest. Been busy. Dakota does not want Spencer Rattler at all. Phil told everyone Evans is staying in Tampa. He will retire there. Certainly seems like it. JT says, dude, I had to watch the stream back when I got home from my draft party to see your guys' reaction. Brutal. I walked into the other room for a minute. So I did flip in front of the homies. Dude, when we took Will McDonald, I love the draft party. If you guys haven't been a part of our Talking Jets draft parties, they are so much fun because you get to see the picks on the screen while the things are happening, and you get to see our live reactions. It is raw, it is authentic, and there are sometimes we're wrong. When we took Breece Hall, I wanted Nakobe Dean in the worst way. He was like top 20 player at the time, and then we traded up. I was like, oh, it's got to be Nakobe Dean. CJ Moses is getting older. That's where we're gonna go. And then they're like Breece Hall. I was like, what? I didn't even think we were going running back in the first 3 rounds, and we took one in the second, let alone traded up, and we passed on the guy at a position need. I was like, man, I don't know what we're thinking. Clearly, that was the wrong reaction. Breece is a beast. That's okay. But that's what you get when you watch the draft party with us. You'll get whatever we were feeling at the time. That's for sure. Rich thinks Jermaine Johnson will get 15 sacks. I hope so. Jordan Travis is the type of young quarterback to battle through and overcome adversity to become a really good or great quarterback. If he can come back, is it a knee injury or is it an ankle? I think it's an ankle injury. That's what he's got. Love quarterbacks that fight through adversity. Sherwin says, last time I saw a quarterback who does Joe Milton things, it was Josh Allen. Joe Milton is faster and strong with a stronger arm, and he runs over people. Oh, man. I don't know if I could say that. The fact that Josh Allen was always considered like in the conversation for the number 1 overall pick, and like Joe Milton's, I don't even think he's considered a 4th or 5th round pick. That feels like there's probably a pretty drastic difference in the two of them. Dakota says, broken leg doesn't stop no young quarterback with big dreams that can be defeated. Dakota advocating for Jordan Travis. Hawk says, I don't like Eisen. I know I'm in the minority. Sure, he's a nice guy. Does the charity thing, blah, blah, blah. I don't like his commentary. Oh, I love Rich Eisen. He's one of my favorite Jet talking guys. He's just like very cool, calm, and collected. Seems like a really good person. I'm a big Eisen guy. Dakota says, Rodgers, Brissett, Jordan Travis, that's how the quarterback room should look like. I'd be okay with that. Rika says, I really don't get the Jordan Travis hype. He's a career backup, Joshua Dobbs 2.0. So I don't like him the most of the backup quarterback options. I like him the most from like a you can IR him. So if you do like the rest of the stuff, like if I'm evaluating him wrong, I'm fine with it. I like Pratt and I like Rattler more than Travis. Looks like Houston is really interested in Saquon Barkley. That would be a cool spot for him to land. I hear the Chargers are going to be in on him as well, possibly. Phil, with some big Penix energy. Penix has a great arm. He really does. Of all the quarterbacks that I've watched, if Penix didn't have the injury issues, like the 2 knee injuries and the surgically repaired throwing shoulder, he'd go a lot higher. I'm a big fan of Penix. Even though he's a little bit older, I like him a lot. Stokillo, Breece Hall was such a surprise pick, but it really paid off. Yeah, I was stunned. I did not think that was going to be where it was. The interesting question for Breece Hall is how much more, knowing what you know now, how much more would you be willing to trade up into the first? Because the Jets apparently tried to trade up, which means we would get that extra year of contractual control over Breece Hall. But it probably means you're not holding on to Jeremy Ruckert, Clemens, or Mitchell. And I would say I would do that trade. If you could get rid of all 3 of them to guarantee an extra year of Breece, I probably would. And that's someone that like actually really likes Ruckert. I'm a fan of Ruckert. Clemens is fine. Mitchell's depth. Stifler's mom, what's up? Question. If we can get Fashanu at left tackle, should we get a right tackle if we could find a way to get a second? Keep AVT at guard. If so, who you see falling that you would be all right with us taking? So I guess it depends on how you get that second round pick, right? Like, if you're taking a pick at 10 and it's a Fashanu or, it's your left tackle, on the right-hand side, you're going to have to trade up, right? So you're giving up probably your 3rd and both 4ths to come up in the second round. Maybe a James Morgan. Is James Morgan? Jordan Morgan from Arizona could be there. The kid from BYU could be there. I think Graham Barton's going to go in the first round. Fatanu's going to go first round. Mims will be first round. Guyton's first round. Yeah, man, I don't know. I don't want to have to rely on 2 rookie offensive tackles. That feels like you're playing with fire. Just win Jets. Garrett Wilson, Cortland Sutton, Corey Davis. Yeah, man, I would love to see Corey Davis come through. That would be great. Phil says we could trade next year's second. I would be open to moving next year's second for something this year. I don't know what it would wind up being, but that would be my move as well. Dakota says you already can't count on Cobb and Lazard at all. Yeah, I don't want to have to rely on them. I'd like to upgrade those 2 positions primarily. All right, let's round up some of my not predictions, but why I want my receivers in this order, and I'll explain it a little bit because it's probably confusing some people that may not have heard the opinions at the very beginning of this show. DJ Shark, 6'4", 6'5" frame. We have his wide receiver coach from last year. There's probably a 1 year, $4-5-ish million a year contract on the table potentially for him. I like that low-end price for potential high-end production because I would just roll the dice on Carolina's offense just being booty cheeks last year, and maybe there's more production available than what we actually got to see out of him. So high upside swing. Curtis Samuel, hometown Brooklyn kid, could be a high-end slot for us. I wouldn't mind going after him. Probably going to get somewhere in like the $7-8 million a year range. Tyler Boyd, I really like Tyler Boyd. If he doesn't go back home to Pittsburgh, I heard he wants to play for Mike Tomlin, grew up in Pittsburgh, he would be high on my list. Calvin Ridley, we went after him a few years ago, going to be the top wide receiver on the market, but he's going to get about $20 million a year. That is a lot of money to pay Calvin Ridley, which is why Courtland Sutton is above him on my list, because Courtland Sutton's current contract is 1 year at $13.5 million and a second year at $14 million. Those two numbers, dramatically better than anything you're going to have to pay Calvin Ridley. And I think the size profile for him being 6'5" or 4" or whatever his height is would be where I feel comfortable in terms of a compliment to Garrett Wilson. So guys, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you could hit that like button, if you've enjoyed the conversation going back and forth, it would go a long way. Helps drive some of these live streams, hitting the algorithm and helping out the channel a little bit. Let me know your top 5 wide receivers down below in the comments section. And as always, go Jets.
You're out of here! Hit hard by Jermaine Johnson. Look at the speed of Breece Hall. Breece Lightning. 𝐂𝐻𝐧𝐤𝐬. Got it. Touchdown Jets. One, two, three.